Welcome to WKRP Montrose, a radio station masquerading as a podcast about Montrose, Colorado, and the Western Slope.
Hey, Rob, how you doing this morning? Everybody, WKRP Montrose, we're back. It's early in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's cold outside.
Yep.
Which makes me grumpy.
Yep.
Those are all one-word answers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that going to be your contribution? Are you as grumpy as I am about the weather?
Nope.
No. All right. Well, listen, you can obviously see that we have the lovely Dano Musser on the couch. Musser, right? I'm pronouncing the last name correctly.
Yep. The wheelie big couch.
The wheelie big
which
couch.
Today perhaps looks and feels a little bit bigger than normal.
Why is that?
Given the
well, they can't see. You have to pick your feet up. They can't see that your feet don't touch the ground, but they're right there.
There's most people's don't. Most people's feet don't touch the ground. So don't feel bad.
Rob does that on purpose. I think
It was a happy accident.
Yeah.
That the couch is elevated and it makes our guests look a little bit like children.
Yes. Well, I am about the size of a child, so it works out.
Maybe in stature. Certainly not in personality. So I know that there's a lot to fill in this room today because in doing my research, I didn't have enough paper to write down on. So, Dano, you remind me of some of the many other people that we have in this community that are just amazing. Your 24 hours is not the same as my 24 hours. Apparently, somehow you get more. I don't know how that works. So maybe you can enlighten us all today on how you fit more into a single day than obviously the rest of us do. So let me just, I'm only going to grab the ones that that connected with me, but the list is long enough. So the director of the Adapted Physical Education Conference, 2023 Woman of Distinction for Montrose. Congratulations to that. The Shape Colorado Teacher of the Year in 2020 and current board member. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually just stepped off the
board.
You
did just step off. Well, good for you. Time to make room for...
Okay. I'm still on other boards. It's okay.
Mother of two.
Yep.
Married.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then none of the things that I just mentioned aren't your day job either.
Nope.
So do you want to tell us about your day job? And you can pull that a little bit to get the microphone headphone cable so it doesn't feel like, there you go.
Okay, strangling.
Yeah.
So my day job consists of a couple different things. So I am first and foremost the adaptive program leader for the Montrose Recreation District. So what that looks like is basically what I want it to look like, which is really exciting for me. I love the fact that I get to work with individuals from birth till the grave, and all different kinds of disabilities. When I did work for the school district for 8 years here in Montrose, and in that time, it was a very kind of set group of individuals that I got to work with, and I did work with ages 3 through 21, which is a large age range, because I was the only adapted physical education specialist for the Montrose County School District. So now
and that's a lot of people. That covers a large. How big is the school district in terms of the people that you?
So the school district is like over 6,000 people, but like if you think about the school district, typically in most school districts, 13% of that population will have a disability that'll have an individualized education program, so an IEP. And then within that percentage, I would serve, I really couldn't tell you the exact percentage, but when I was leaving, I had a caseload of 92 kids.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
For one person.
Yeah. Yes, and that's all different school sites, and a lot of people don't know this when you're doing that role, which is a very specialized role. There's, on the Western Slope, there are only 4 adapted physical education specialists, and that's the entire Western Slope.
Wow.
They're all in Grand Junction, actually.
Wow.
Because the other school districts don't have them.
So how do you guys define the Western Slope? Like, where does it stop on 70, and how far does it come over this way to
Continental Divide and over.
Okay, so everywhere basically that we know as our neighbors out here. Okay,
Exactly.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that makes sense. So you wrote a book then as well.
I actually brought a copy just to
Awesome.
hold it in my hands because I don't think I've gotten to do this yet.
Okay. Stories and strategies of adapted physical education desert. And so
Yes.
is that is this a good segue into
It is a
that
great segue.
conversation?
Go. I love it. Yes. So this is a desert because there are so few adaptive physical educators out this way. And actually, since I resigned from the role from the school district, they did not replace me.
Is that because they don't want to, or is that, well, that's subjective, I guess.
Yeah.
Is
Is
that
it
because
resources?
there's limited resources and
There's
Or
a
is it
number.
difficult?
There's a number of different reasons, and I'll let the school district speak to that. But I can just say, like, what I'm doing right now in my life fits me and my personality and my family, and that's what needed to happen for me and for them. And I'm so glad to be able to serve in this role in our community because I believe that recreation and sports is for everyone. It's not just for a select few. And Rob, I know that you love playing on different rec leagues throughout the rec district, and I think that should be accessible to everyone.
I agree. Yeah, completely. It's a bit of a no-brainer, I think,
Well,
actually. That
I mean,
things
it's
should be
accessible to Rob, so it should be accessible to everybody, right?
You would think.
I don't know what kind of comment you're trying to make there.
I mean, I'm just
So,
saying, like, if they let you in and they let you play with other people, you don't play nice with others. So I feel like aren't you injured over there? Don't you have a nice little like rug burn? Didn't somebody push you down in soccer?
No.
Oh, okay.
I dived at their feet like a hero to save a penalty.
Oh,
There
Thank
you
you
like a
very much.
hero.
Well, and I did hear you played in goal recently.
You've been doing your research too?
Always.
Yes, I did, and I hated every second of it.
So
That was
absolutely.
not my position either.
Absolutely. We have everybody deserves an opportunity. I mean, physical education, being able to get out and move is detriment to your mental health, to your well-being. I mean, we know that for everybody else, but we don't, I guess sometimes we're a little bit self-focused. I won't say self-centered, but self-focused,
Yeah.
that we forget that it's things that are available to us aren't necessarily available to everybody else.
Well, I think it's hyper focused, or you can be hyper aware of it here because we live in such an incredible place with a lot of opportunities for recreation. Not everybody has that, but we are very fortunate here to be able to get out in nature, and there's the ski resorts and stuff like that. But yeah, I think you're right. It's very easy to, especially if you're not involved in that world, if you don't like have a kid with disabilities or something like that, then you don't always look outside of your own circle, like maybe on a regular basis. So
Absolutely.
So let's back up a little bit,
Okay.
because we jumped right into
Oh, we
what you
sure
do. And that's my fault because again, like I said,
good.
the list is longer than what I wrote down, but you're very accomplished. You've done a ton in the community.
Thank you.
I feel bad for the probably 100-something kids that are there now that probably still need a Dano in their life. But hopefully that's something that can get rectified, or hopefully it's something that they can pursue the opportunity to continue to work with you through the rec district.
Yep.
But let's talk about how did you get, because as Rob pointed out, you both have accents.
yeah,
We
So-
do. And
you
they're-
arguably sound like more of a foreigner in Colorado than I do.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
I think it's different. Your accent is different.
It's a little bit different. So I was born and raised in Eastern Tennessee, in a small town outside of Knoxville. Kenny Chesney and Morgan Wallen both went to my high school, if you happen to know those.
Friends of the show, both of them.
Friends, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have them on next.
Yeah, they've been trying to get on, but we don't have time for them. We're dealing with people in Montrose. so-
Morgan, sit down.
Yeah, relax, buddy.
But I'm not the same age as either of them. A little closer on the Morgan
Quite a bit
Wallens.
younger. Quite a bit younger,
Oh,
definitely.
No, Morgan Wallen is younger than me. I'm in the middle. Anyways, but yeah, so that's where I'm from. And then after going through all the grade levels there, I decided to take a real big leap and go to school in Eastern Kentucky.
You went far, far away from home.
So far away. I went to Berea College, and I just want to really specifically shout them out because this is a school for low-income students.
Okay.
And so what that means is that every single student at the college had to work for the college.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. And it's a very small school, 1,500. And so what came out of that is free tuition. And they've had that promise since the 1800s. And they were the first interracial and coeducational school in the South.
And it's BREEA?
BEREA.
Yay. Okay.
Yep. Berea College.
That's
So-
pretty cool. That's pretty amazing.
yeah.
You don't hear about that a lot.
No.
For certain. I mean, I didn't even know.
That was a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's
What,
amazing.
What kind of work did you do? Do they have you doing
I-
everything?
I was super boring in that I came in as a lifeguard. And since I already had that skill set and certification, they were like, oh, perfect. Because every single student at the school has to pass a swim test.
Okay.
And so
You were busy.
I was very busy as a lifeguard. And so if you don't pass that swim test, then you have to take a swim class. And so, yep, I was super busy and fell in love with that side of things. I already had because I've been doing that since 16. And to this day, I still teach swim
I was about to
lessons.
say, you're still teaching swim lessons.
I'm headed there right after this. I can't wait
Okay.
to get in that cold pool.
Yeah. But you could do everything there. So Dennis could have worked in the cafeteria, for
Oh,
example.
absolutely. So the
as
school,
as the lead potato.
Yeah,
The lead.
potato masher extraordinaire.
well, they also grew their own food.
Oh.
And continue to do so.
Wow.
And then all of the food is composted and then put back into growing the food that is then served again. So
It's a great, that's
it's an
great.
incredible school, but most of my friends all had like much cooler jobs than I had. They all did traditional Appalachian crafts. And so like some of my friends did broom making or ceramics, and my best friend was a weaver.
Oh, wow.
So
So was it a shock going, further east and all the northerners that were in the school? Like, I know my brother, I'm teasing. My brother, being from the South, my brother went to, he grew up in Georgia, but he went to school in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And the joke was like, did he understand their accent up there?
Well,
from the deep South? And
my family very much like both my parents are actually from Wisconsin and Illinois.
Oh,
and
really?
So they do not have this accent, and I like developed this as we continued on the journey. So definitely picked up some stuff in Kentucky, and then after graduating there, debt free, by the way, I went to school at Texas Women's University in Denton, Texas, and then added on another layer of an accent.
shout out Denton, Texas. My wife went to North Texas in Denton.
Ooh, UNT.
Yeah, so you're right. TWU is right in the center, downtown of Texas.
Yep.
Or I mean, Denton. Mm-hmm. And then North Texas is kind of out around the perimeter as
Yep.
well.
So you're
Yep.
getting,
Okay,
so
I
you're
didn't know
getting
you guys had
closer.
that in common.
You're getting closer to Colorado.
Getting closer to
That's-
Colorado.
Hadn't
So-
made it here yet.
Yeah.
Hadn't made it there yet, but another shout out to this OSEP grant. So OSEP is the Office of Special Education Programming. Adapted Physical Education Specialists are in such a need in our country that they do big grants to major universities that have these programs for adapted PE specifically. So I got my master's completely debt free.
Wow.
So major shout out, because that really helps in life to
Yeah.
graduate from both undergrad and master's completely debt free. And so you never know like what age group is listening right now. Just like bookmark that, y'all, and save it because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners are not too young.
You hope they're what?
They're not too young.
They're not too young?
This isn't for young ears. This episode will be fine, I'm sure. Some of the others, maybe not.
It makes me want to ask a question, but I don't want to get political. If
Go ahead.
as somebody that graduated with no debt, how do you feel about the program that's currently in place trying to forgive debt for those that do?
You know, it's a tough call because as someone who really I wrote a ton of essays and applied for different grants and scholarships and things like that. That's a really tough one.
It is. I always for me it's never been a situation in any scenario that's like that. I'm never frustrated with somebody that gets something that I didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand how some people that worked really hard to find themselves in a position where they're not in debt. When there's a debt forgiveness scenario, that people can get pretty, I don't know. It's one of those things.
It's a tough one because both my schools were paid for. Like both of my schools were paid for.
That's pretty amazing.
One by federal money and the other one, Berea College has a huge endowment. So like, I am incredibly and forever grateful for where I am because of the programs that got put in place.
Yeah.
As someone from a low-income family.
I mean, let's not forget, too, that a lot of the politicians that are responsible for student debt also didn't pay for college, most of them.
Well,
so
let's turn that back on a positive note, or maybe it was a positive note. So the programs that you have for adaptive education through the rec district, are they paid programs? Do people have to pay to participate? Are there scholarships for them, or?
Yeah, so there's a couple different models with some of our programming, but know that through different organizations throughout town, so like Montrose County, so like the government, if you have a loved one in your family that has a disability, like there is assistance where they could get a full rec center pass for both, not only the person with the disability, but also the caregiver. So there's definitely programs that are in place and available that people should definitely be reaching out to, like talk to me, adaptive at montroserec.com. And I'd love to help y'all find what you need to be able to access our programs.
Well, fantastic. So and we're going to come back too, because we haven't gotten here to Colorado yet.
Not yet.
But just to stay on the point
we
of
got a few more shout outs
the programs.
Before we get
That's right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. I just want to make sure everything is known.
No, that's good.
So what are some of your current favorite programs that you're working on with the rec center?
Oh man, I love them all.
I know. I knew you were going to say that, but you got to pick a couple.
Okay,
you're forced to.
Okay.
We'll just
It's a short show.
Highlight a few instead of choosing.
Okay, so highlighting a few. Number one, first and foremost, we are doing year-round powerlifting. It's called adapted fitness training, but we are training towards Special Olympics powerlifting competitions. And we did our first two it was this year because we're still in 2024. I'm already jumping ahead to 2025. I'm ready. But we competed at a regional and state level in powerlifting, and our lifters did a phenomenal job. It sounds super easy to be able to do, a squat, a deadlift, and a bench press, but like to be able to do that and listen or watch for signs from the person that's the judge and make sure you're doing that move correctly. Right. That's the difficult part, especially for our athletes. But they did an incredible job, and we've taken home some gold medals, which makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So we're doing good things.
All right.
And I like it.
Did you guys do like a watch party with the team for the Special Olympics this year after the Olympics? No?
We did not.
Oh,
no.
man.
I mean, like, I'm ambitious, but like,
yeah, no, it's not like. Hold on, let me add something else to the list that you have. We already mentioned that, but I feel like that would be cool for them to be able to see their, be inspired by like, this is where you can go, this is where you can get to. That's pretty cool. Well, I'll give you an opportunity to bring us closer to Colorado. Okay. So, you've graduated with a master's from TWU.
Yes.
And what happens then, and how do you end up here?
So while I was still in the program, I started applying all over across the United States. I knew that I'd be graduating at a weird time of year, December for a teacher, and trying to get a job for a January start. That's a weird time. But I was applying everywhere. I was thinking Alaska might be where I end up. And I would be one of those type of teachers that gets on a plane every week and travels to a different part of Alaska.
Right.
Because there's such a need out there. But the first job that popped up on Google was Montrose, Colorado.
Oh.
Not playing.
Okay.
But I applied other places too, but at the time, the special education director and I like really hit it off via our like Zoom interview. Well, it wasn't Zoom. I'm pretty sure it was just a phone call at the time. It was 2013. And I accepted a job sight unseen, and I'd never been to Colorado in my life.
So you've never heard
2013,
of
it could have been Skype. No. It could have been Skype, right?
Potentially, but
it was probably
like
a phone call.
I feel like it was a phone call because I was like, I don't think I dressed up.
Right. It's fair to say
that
you'd never heard of Montrose.
Right, yeah. Had you heard about it? Had you seen it?
What did you know about Colorado? Did it extend beyond Denver and ski resorts? Or
no, like I just knew mountains. Right. Like, but different than
I was about to say, not the same as the Smoky Mountains.
No.
Yeah, but...
So So you
Okay,
just
so
showed
you-
up here with a suitcase and went, all right, this is my life now.
Well, legitimately, I had fully planned, like, once I graduated, I would just, like, pack up my car and drive here, and I'd find a place to live. And then both my parents thought I was an idiot. And said, like,
Which meant it was the absolute right thing to do. That was
they were like, okay, like, we should probably go at Thanksgiving break and find a place, because this is a small town. You may not be able to find a place. And we were here for, like, my dad and I came out, and it was like 3 days, and we were like desperately trying to find a house. And I ended up in a lady's basement, and she was very nice. So
thank you to the lady that had the basement that took care of Dano and got her here. All right. So how long until you meet? Your husband's name is Justin, right?
Yes. And we actually have a really, really nice meet cute.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you going to share with us?
I will. Yeah. So anyways, moved to Montrose.
Uh-huh.
On the day that I arrived, I do have to tell this story because I want to give hope to people that
are coming here now.
So, like, the very first day I came, it was foggy.
Yeah.
And we never have fog, but it was foggy that day. And as my dad is driving us into town, the first thing I could smell was the feedlot.
Oh, no.
And it was foggy. So I had no idea there was mountains in Montrose the whole time I was here looking for an apartment. And he was like, you haven't signed the contract. He was like, we can just go.
We can just turn
We
around.
can turn around. And I, like, looked out the window and I was crying the whole time. And I was like, no, I love it here. I'm so excited. Because I didn't want him to know. I was so stubborn, which is a reoccurring theme for me.
With you and your dad?
Oh, just
Or just in general?
That's who I am.
I was about to say, that sounds very father-daughter scenario.
Yep.
Like, you know, I think Jordan has more than one time wanted to tell me something else, but has been determined not to. So.
Yep.
All right.
Par for the course.
So you show up. You haven't seen the mountains yet.
No.
There's fog. So when's the first day that you actually got to see the San Juans from Montrose? And did that, like, change things a little bit for you, or was it
that whole Thanksgiving that we were looking for a place to live? Never saw the mountains,
Oh no.
and we never left.
How is that
town.
even possible? It just was
It was
overcast.
It was just overcast the
Okay.
entire time, and I was like, okay, well, this is
where I
fun.
moved.
Okay, but then when I came back after I had graduated around Christmas time, that's when I first saw the mountains, and I was like, oh, look at those! Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, but it all turned out okay. But the first semester was really hard because I didn't know anybody, and as an itinerant teacher traveling school to school, it's really hard to make friends. And it was 2014, so the vibe and culture was a little bit different then than it is now. There was like 5 people my age, it felt like. And so that was tricky to navigate, and I honestly didn't know if I would stay because I just wasn't having like a super fun time yet. And I just hadn't like got to know the town like as well as I could have at that point. But that fall, I happened to be starting the Amazing Race for Adaptive Sports, and I was in what used to be Two Rascals, which is now Silver Basin Brewing, and I was trying to hit up the owner for money, and it was Brandon, just to like specifically put a name to that, because I know there's been some history with that.
It was the other rascal.
Yeah.
Brandon, okay.
Yeah. And so I was hitting him up for some funding for my program, and in walked another person. And I mean, that's all 3 of us in the brewery, and that's kind of how it rolled in Montrose at the time. And I don't know, he was in exercise clothes, and he had a sandwich, and he asked me if I wanted to buy it, and I said, no, I don't know you.
Wait, did you say it just like that?
Of course I
With
did.
the drawn out no. Yeah, absolutely. No.
It's a solid like 1 minute. No.
Yeah.
But we ended up like talking, and I kind of asked him for like a job, because not like a full time, like because I was like, oh, that sounds like super interesting what you do.
What does he do? You didn't.
Yeah. So my husband is the natural resources manager for Montrose County. And so both my parents are horticulturists, and so I really care about that kind of stuff. And yeah, we just had a great conversation, but he was like, no, I don't want to hire you. Turns out because he thought I was hot. So, which is like probably a good choice.
He had other plans.
Yeah, he had other plans.
Yeah.
But I did have to, he left without, like, we had like an hour-long conversation, and then he just left. And I was like, he didn't ask for my name or my number or nothing. And I was like, okay, it's on.
Oh.
Let's go.
Gentlemen, take notes.
This is the stubborn
Act
part,
interested,
right?
but not interested.
Yeah. If it's meant to be, you can leave and she'll track you down.
Okay.
And, well, I think it depends on the person, but I very much was like, when is that man in here? And so for the next month, I pursued this man and was like, okay, like anytime he is at this brewery, like I will be here. I'm going to sign up for trivia. I will play cornhole, like this. And I made him steak like every week.
Oh, wow.
They had a grill at the time out back and you could bring your own food and grill out and then drink. And I was like, this is like the perfect scenario, but only drink when you're 21 and over and follow the rules.
All right, that's quite the story.
We've already hold on. Everybody else that's out there that's going to listen to this, you already know that Rob and I are not rule followers. Or Rob says, wait, let's go back to it. Are you a rule follower, Rob?
Not really.
Okay. He acts like he is. He says he's never done anything wrong though. So we'll
That's a lie.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's recorded somewhere. Actually, if you can find the clip where Rob said that he'd never done anything wrong and all he did during his childhood was kick a soccer ball around.
Yeah, if you have so much spare time in your life, you want to go back through episodes and find that, Dennis will give you something that we have over here that
I certainly do. We have something in the prize. We have something in the prize bin that I will definitely get you. I might even let you choose.
Don't waste your time.
But you got to text the minute number on the episode, right, on YouTube, and send it to 970-316-3162. 970-316-3162. You can text that number, or you can just call in and leave a message. But make sure you leave a message that lets us know where to send the prize to.
Don't waste your time.
So is it safe to say that Justin is the reason that like maybe you changed your mentality about Montrose?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so let's fast forward a little bit. You guys, great story.
Thank you.
For all of you listening, if you find somebody that you really feel like fits you, stalk them, feed them, hang out where they're at, and eventually
in a good way.
And eventually things will work out. They just always do. So much so that you might even become the star of your own wedding movie that is still being displayed on the internet proudly. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Where at?
At Powderhorn Ski Resort.
Okay. How did that go? How did that happen?
Well, so long story short, Justin is 7 years older than me.
Okay.
And so he very much was like, here is this person who is 24 years old and I'm in my 30s and there's no way she's sticking around. And he is a fifth generation Coloradan.
Okay.
And his family homesteaded in Escalante.
Oh, wow. So he's been here.
He has been here. And so he's not moving. And so he was like, oh, this girl, she's not staying. And I don't date in Montrose. Like that was his mentality, because if you date one person, you pretty much
It's still a small town.
Yeah, the friend group is like, no, you're done. So so that's why it took some time to convince him of dating me, but it did happen, and we got married at Powderhorn Ski Resort. And on the day of our wedding, they liked our setup so much that they were like, hey, we're calling in a videographer, and if you sign this paper, then we have permission to like videotape your wedding and put it on our website, and then you get a copy. And that was something I really wanted, was a videographer for a wedding, but it's expensive and it all adds up. And so it just worked out perfectly, and it's still up on their website if you want a glimpse of what our wedding looked like.
If you want to go check it out, it's up in Powderhorn Resort right now. Yeah. All right, Rob, I'm getting to the amazing race because I think that's how you and I met.
Yes,
it is. And I was just trying to do the math in my head. So I must have met you because proximity is, or the co-working space in town is now over 10 years old.
Yep.
So, and I think the first time that I met you was you coming in talking about the amazing race, which would have been a decade ago.
It's still so wild to me that like I've been here for 10 years, like blows my mind. But it's so exciting because it's fun to watch Montrose grow and change. And, I know that there are people that are, and you guys have talked about this in the show, there's people that don't want town to change, and there's people that do want town to change. And I think the point that I really want to drive home today, like besides that sports are for everyone, is that I think it's really good to make things better. But I also think it's really good to understand like where the people that have been here for multiple generations, why they might feel a certain way, and to be respectful while we're talking about that. I think that the people that moved out here, like homesteaded here, think about the type of personality that they probably had to pack up all of their stuff and go to the unknown and set up in the desert. Like, you had to be a hardy person that like really kept to yourself in a lot of ways, because you probably weren't going to see people for months, if not a year at a time.
Yeah.
So I just want to like shout out to the people that have been here and been here for a long time, that like, I understand where you're coming from, and change can be scary, and sometimes it's not always good, and sometimes it is. So
yeah, I think it's important as well, though, to say that, to a certain degree, change is inevitable. And I think it's important for us to have a conversation about how that change looks, because no matter what side you're on, if you say it's happening, whether you like it or not, that's not a great attitude. And also on the flip side, if you say, I don't want it, well, it's happening. But we can, as a community, we can decide together how that looks. And we have a say in how it looks. So
you've got to participate in the change. The change is going to happen.
It's going to happen.
And the best way that you can pay homage to the past is to participate in the future. Like,
truth.
You've got to. So I definitely am grateful for the message that you're sharing. Is like, let's not forget, this community is made up of people that have been here, legacy have been here for a very long time. People that have been part of the change of where Montrose is going, and then the new people that are coming, and they're coming quickly. Yep. Because in part, we live in a really beautiful place. Yeah. Although it is high desert, it has a lot of redeeming, amazing qualities. Yep. And it's something that people desire. So it's there's no physical gate for us to close the door and keep people out. So we definitely need to continue to participate in the change that's coming, and hopefully mold it so that it has some visible to the past. That's actually a good, we just talked about, I want to mention real quick.
Go on then.
The mural programs that we have that are starting to happen in the city. And so Rob sent me a message last night showing me a potential mural that might go into town. And we've had some really good, we've got the great one that's under the bridge out by Cerise Park.
And Chowdown.
And Chowdown is an example of one that resonates with me. I think I love the artwork on the back of Chowdown. Yeah. Yes. The one that's under the bridge, although beautiful, is not my style. And so I think it's one of this program could be an example of that. Like, when I drive through Delta, which is the city of murals, or wherever, I don't see a mural that inspires me to stop and take a picture or want to look at it. I'm not into the Western motif. The history of some of those images doesn't really speak to me, but I understand why it's important. So I think that's an example of.
They have a lot too, and they're not all like kind of Western motif. Some of them are off Main Street. I mean, it's worth going and checking the murals out in Delta. But yes, there's a lot that are that I'm going to use your word, and I'm going to get back to this homage to their past, which, by the way, I think is probably the first time you've ever used that word, right?
Who? Me?
Yeah. I think Dennis has got word of the day toilet paper or something, and that was this morning's word.
Maybe.
Hey, I'm into it.
Maybe.
Whatever improves you and steps you up in your game.
Yeah.
I love it.
There we go. See? Yeah, Rob.
I'm just pointing out, Dennis, that you do very well with new words.
Yeah, I only use them once.
Right.
Hey, use it. Let it go. Bring it on a new
one. Amazing Race.
Amazing Race. So that is how we met.
Because it just happened.
Yeah.
It did just happen.
By the way,
I saw them running around town.
You did?
Yeah. They were. I saw a lot of people at Pomona coming through the checkpoint there.
Yes.
It was great to see. It was looked really fun.
So the Amazing Race started in my first year teaching.
Oh, really?
And basically, like, the way that it started was, how am I going to get students to go skiing in Telluride at Telluride Adaptive Sports Program or at Powderhorn Adaptive Sports Program? Because we were utilizing both programs at one point. And so how am I going to make this happen? Because yes, they get discounted tickets, but it's still expensive.
Super expensive.
Transportation is unreal, the cost of transportation. So how am I going to do that? How am I going to cover that cost? And so I decided to, I'm going to do a fundraiser. And I was talking with my boss, and at the time it was Ann Hillman. And she was like, well, I love that show, like Amazing Race. And so I was like, okay, like, here I go. I'm going to like figure out a way to take that show and turn it into something. And I am passionate about Montrose, if you can't tell. And I love what our town has to offer. And so I was like, this is like the perfect way to highlight different businesses, different historical sites and landmarks, and some of our parks that we have right here in town. Because yes, are we surrounded by all these places that we can go play? Absolutely. But you know what? We can play right here in town.
We have a lot, actually. Don't we? A disproportionate number, I think, of parks for the size of our town. Little parks like Rotary Park, and we're really very fortunate.
Do you know our smallest park in town?
The Pocket Park.
There you go.
Where's the Pocket Park?
Come on, Dennis.
It's like
the program. It's actually
off Main Street, but I couldn't tell you like exactly.
I can tell you exactly where it is.
Where is it at?
It's right next to the old San Juan Construction, now Citizens Bank.
Oh,
building. It is the.
That's why you said, "Oh, come on, Dennis." I should know where it is.
Mava has hosted some really successful like movie nights there.
Yep.
It's super cute. It's right downtown.
Yep, it's opposite. In fact, almost exactly opposite the entrance to the new city hall.
Speaking of a place that needs a mural,
I think it does have one.
It does have on the one wall. It
on
has
the
one.
opposite side wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not the bank wall, but the other wall.
No, on the bank wall, I believe.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It's one of them. There's two walls. It's one of them.
Okay.
I'm trying to like think directionally. Like, okay, north is that way, so I'm pretty sure it's.
All right, I'm going to say it a different way then.
West.
That Pocket Park, it would be really cool if it had a mural like 180.
A wraparound.
That would
wraparound
be
mural.
cute.
Yeah.
That would be
Actually,
amazing.
Our smallest park. It's
That's pretty cool.
great.
Yeah. So
Okay, Amazing Race.
Amazing Race.
Tell us
is
Inspired by the television show.
Inspired by the television show. It's a 10K scavenger hunt race that takes you throughout Montrose. Every year, we typically change our like race start and race finish. We've been doing this since 2014, but and when I say we, it's me. We did take a quick little break during the pandemic, and I also had a child in the pandemic, so I thought it was a great time to just press pause on life for a second and refocus. And then we got it started back up again when I went over to the rec district, and the race is a trademarked name, so please do not try to do that. That was something I did on my own because I was like, this is really important to me, and I feel like it raises money for a really great cause. So in the past, it's raised money for transportation. Last year, it raised money for sport wheelchairs. So now we have 3 sport wheelchairs over at the Montrose Recreation District, the main building, the CRC. And anybody can come at any point and say, hey, I really need to utilize a sport wheelchair. And they could play pickleball or pickup basketball, which is a really cool thing because a sport wheelchair is
Not cheap.
not cheap. No.
But also essential for people that need them.
Yes.
So there's no middle ground, right? You either have the wheelchair and can participate, or you can't. And you have
Exactly.
3 currently.
3.
You have plans to raise money to get more.
I would love more. So then that way, like, especially like partnering with some of the different organizations, we're surrounded by 3 great adaptive sports programs. So Telluride Adaptive Sports Program, Crested Butte has the adaptive sports program up there. And then Powderhorn has, well, it's not at Powderhorn specifically, but they have, oh my gosh, I know it. I'm just blanking on the name right now, but in Grand Junction, there is an
adaptive sports program. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And Colorado Discoverability.
There we go. Nice job.
I got put on the spot and I got sweaty. I'm sorry. So we're surrounded by these great places that bring in like tons of like big programming. So they'll bring in like huge groups of veterans, like Wounded Warriors. And I would love to be able to say to them like, hey, do all your fun skiing stuff, but then come on down for one night and let's do some basketball.
Right.
That's the goal.
Have you seen Murder Ball?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
That was
Have you seen it, Rob?
No,
Oh,
I haven't.
it's something you should watch if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
That
So-
was my Friday nights in Denton, Texas.
Uh-huh.
I would go play murder ball and then I'd go to the club.
Oh, really? Wow, I did not know that about you.
Yes.
So, Rob, Murder Ball is like full contact basketball.
It's wheelchair rugby.
Wheelchair rugby.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a better way of saying it.
Well, now I know
Is
what
it
it
actually
is.
rugby?
It's actually
Makes it rugby. Yeah, that's right.
So it's wheelchair rugby, and it's an incredibly aggressive, fast-paced sport. And
I mean, I come
love it.
from rugby.
But they've
rugby's
had
the national sport in Wales, so I know now. If you say wheelchair rugby, I know exactly what you mean.
But they've had offshoots of it, like in the sense I've seen them play like a full contact, like basketball as well too, where they're like running into each other full speed.
They do, but there's definitely like it's just like in a typical game of basketball. Like if you do
You've got
things,
contact,
then,
right?
Then
Well,
It's not the same, though, because you're not-
Rugby players are built differently.
Yeah,
No matter.
Well, and the chairs are built differently.
Yes, they are.
But you got to have a certain mentality to play rugby, and it doesn't matter if you're in a chair or not. If you're a rugby player, you're going to want to bash into somebody else.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
I'd love to see you play.
I mean, I would love to play rugby.
I would love to get some wheelchair rugby chairs out here.
Can we get rugby in the now, Rod? Now we're talking. Can we get rugby in the rec league, or is that just like uninsurable?
I would say talk to Matt Imus. I mean, he's in charge of adult sports, and I would say, I mean, if there's a want in a community, like that's pretty much like how it starts. Is just someone like, hello, I would like to do this.
Yeah, I mean, you can play touch rugby, which is like flag football. Mm-hmm. You don't really have full.
But I feel like that takes out most of the fun of rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Okay.
Get it going.
We'll start a WKRP 5-a-side.
5-a-side.
7-a-side rugby team.
Yeah, I need the short field, whatever the short field is.
We'll start the first team.
Okay.
Shout out to Colorado Rugby Association.
Friends of the show.
Yeah, they're friends of the show. And I'm sure that we could get Murray Wallace to hook us up with some gear.
There we go.
So this year, the Amazing Race raised money for a future adaptive bike program.
That would be amazing because we have the trails here.
Exactly.
And as much as Telluride Adaptive does up on the mountain up there, it doesn't really extend down here to Montrose, and we have a lot of amazing resources for people to go out and actually take advantage of here.
Well, and I think for a lot of people, when they think disabilities, they think potentially cognitive disabilities, or they think like maybe a physical disability, which is true. Those are two things to think about. But if we think about it, like, have either of you ever broken a bone?
Oh yeah,
Several actually.
Oh, kudos to you.
Yeah, lots.
Did you break leg, arm?
Ankles. Never broken a leg, but I've shattered both of my ankles. I've broken an arm for sure in multiple places, fingers, all kinds of stuff.
So when you broke your ankles, were you able to utilize a bicycle?
No, not at all. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and as a matter of fact, probably the big, like, that's another thing that I don't think it's come so far, like your adaptations of being able to not use crutches. But yeah, I screwed up my ankles because I couldn't stand being on crutches, and I didn't like walking boots weren't really a thing when I did that. So it was basically like breaking my cast and getting back on my feet as fast as I could because I couldn't stand it. So it just so happened that both times that I did really bad damage were in the summer when I was younger. And so it was like, I'm not doing this all summer long. Yep. Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Just a minute ago.
Like, yeah, Panavision, like pre-color television. No, I'm just kidding.
Betamax.
Betamax.
So when we think about these different disabilities, like we also have like people in our lives that are maybe like active adults, they're older, but maybe they're not able to utilize like a typical two-wheel bicycle. So we have a large percentage of our population that could potentially benefit from using an adaptive bike program. So they might need to use a hand cycle,
right,
or maybe they need a recumbent bike because it's more comfortable on their back. Whatever the reason may be, like that is what I'm trying to cover with this.
So it's much broader than perhaps people think. When you talk of adaptive sports, it isn't limited to what perhaps is considered a traditional quote unquote disability. It's anybody who needs any kind of assistance. They are covered by adaptive sports.
Yes.
I did not know that. I didn't really consider it. I guess most people don't.
Well, and I think a lot of people they're seeing the programming that I'm putting on. They're seeing the Special Olympics sports that I'm putting on.
Right.
That's, that is something that's just bringing people into the door. But know that we have a lot of other things that we're starting to offer. And we do want you to reach out to the rec center to the rec district and say, hey, I need this. Because how could we get support in place for your child to be on a typical developing soccer team if we don't know what your child's needs are.
Right.
Maybe they're behavioral, maybe they're sensory. What is it, and how can we help you accommodate to get into the program that best suits your needs?
Right. It's communication, right? It's you can't expect things to miraculously appear if you don't communicate your needs.
But to be fair to the public, this is something that is somewhat new in the grand scheme of things. And for so long, so many people were told, like, oh, we don't have anything for you.
Right.
And so they're not expecting it.
Right.
So they're not expecting to ask because they've never.
Right. And what was the email address again?
Adaptive@montroserec.com.
And that's your email.
That's my email.
So bombard
Please do.
our email with requests.
I love it.
All right, now you've got things besides your book
Da-da-da.
on the couch.
Yes.
And I know you wanted to get to them.
Okay.
And you have the folded piece of paper.
Oh, yeah, we were told not to look at these until
Yes.
now, right?
Okay.
Can we open them up now?
So this is part of the Amazing Race. And I thought, since Rob loves trivia so much,
Oh, God, here we go.
that we
This
should.
is great. I either get to look smart or really, really stupid now.
No, it's
Please,
going to be perfect.
please let it be the latter.
No, I think we're going to start you off with an easy one. So
Can
these
I
are-
open this?
You guys can open this.
Okay.
These are actual clues that we used this year in the race.
Oh, no.
So when the racers go, they get this sheet of paper. They all open it at the exact same time. Some teams love to just go for it. They just run. And then other teams really like to sit down and solve all the clues that they can.
Right, and then
Go and build a course from that. Because it is a 10K scavenger hunt. So you do need to plan accordingly, because at every single race location, you have to participate in a challenge. And the challenge could be physical or it could be mental. So 1 second. I know you're ready and rare and you got your hand raised. When this mental challenge comes up, which I did bring a mental challenge with me today.
Uh-oh.
Dun, 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 dun. But in some of the physical challenges, Chow Down one year made people eat human grade dog food.
right.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Or you,
Well,
could
you know
take
what?
a 5-minute penalty.
I'm down with that, because I feel like people do feed their dogs stuff that they shouldn't feed them. And I feel like you should, I don't know. I'm
telling
kind of.
You should want to eat it.
Tim and Krista, if you want to bring in a tin of human-grade dog food, Dennis will eat it on an episode.
I will do that. I will do that.
So close to going to Chow Down and being like, hey, can I have one of those cans?
Yeah.
And bring it on the show. But I didn't want to do that to y'all. And that's why I brought you goldfish. And
Oh, okay. Well, you brought us things that we actually want to eat.
Exactly.
Look at you checking your watch. You're the first guest to ever do that.
No, my phone was going on.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, is it my kids? But they're
Well,
fine.
okay, fair enough.
So
Yeah.
let's do number
4. Let's do number 4.
You want to do number 4? Okay. This is a great
There's a
one.
reason why.
Thank you.
Well,
too.
the reason is you know the answer.
Right. Well,
Okay.
actually, Rob, you're going to find out why.
Would you like to read the question
Yes.
and then do the answer? Okay, perfect.
Be swift to find this spot.
No, it's be swift. There's about 6 E's.
Buzz.
You want to read it, Rob?
Be. Come
Do you
on.
want to read it, Rob?
No, go on. Do it again.
Be swift to find this spot. Just follow this rhyme in Montrose, where craft beer is a pastime, where hops and malts create beverages sublime. Seek out the brewery where good times chime. Yeah. Is that, you know what? I should have made Rob read that, because he's going to have to read it every time now.
No,
because they just happen to be the beverage sponsor of WKRP Montrose. No, it's not Pomona Brewery.
It is.
Oh,
We
it is.
love
Ta-da!
Pomona Brewery, and that's why
Yeah.
I wanted you to do that one.
And this is now, unfortunately, it's the morning, so I don't have
Yeah.
a growler of beer. But normally we would.
Thank you to
have,
Pomona
but-
Brewing.
Yeah. All right. So, and how many are there in total? right,
This year
15.
we had 15, but know that when you're doing this, you're not only you're running this race or walking. It's just everybody has their own style of how they like to compete. There have been years past where people have run straight to the first brewery, and that's where they
Never made
stayed.
it past
They never
that.
made it past that. But there are no beer chugging challenges because it is a family friendly
Yeah.
race. And we do have spots for typical developing athletes, but we do have adaptive spots and unified teams where teams with and without disabilities work together. But it's teams of 4 that run throughout town. At Pomona Brewery this year, I believe they had to play cornhole this year. But every challenge is different. Let's do one more just because
Just so everybody knows, that was not scripted. We didn't get to see the questions.
they just opened the
We just
envelope.
opened the envelope. Okay.
Let's do one more, and let's do
I like this. Congratulations to you to bringing something unique to WKRP that
And
we weren't ready for.
Did you write all of these yourself?
And by me, you mean ChatGPT
Yeah.
in my brain?
That is what I meant.
Yes. Yes. In the past, I used to write them all myself, but it takes a lot of work to do that, to find something unique. Let's do one that's not alcohol related. Number 10.
Number 10. Rob, you're up.
Go on. You got the radio voice.
All right. Where treasures of the past find new life. In Montrose, supporting others through each strife. A local thrift store that gladly accepts donations to help their community connect. Seek the shop where kindness thrives, supporting clients and changing lives. I know where that is. Rob?
Are you sure?
I'm pretty positive I know where it is.
It's on Main Street?
Yeah.
It's not on Main Street.
Oh.
It's not on Main Street. It's actually out on the bypass.
No. Because
No?
Dennis is thinking it's Habitat for Humanity.
No, I'm not. I'm thinking it's the Salvation Army.
Okay.
Is it not?
Salvation Army. It's not Habitat.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm intrigued. Where is
All
it?
right, let's read again.
Read it one more time.
Where treasures of the past find new life, in
not on-
Montrose supporting others
not on
through
Main Street.
each strife.
Not on Main Street.
A local thrift store that gladly accepts donations to help the community
But
connect.
It's close to Main Street, but it's not on Main Street.
Seek the shop where kindness thrives, supporting clients and changing lives. Come on, Rob.
What's the hint in there? What's the biggest clue?
So I would say community and clients. So
Community options? No,
it
that's not right.
supports community options and hires people from community options. Second impressions.
Oh.
You know what?
Yes.
I'm embarrassed to say I've never been to Second Impressions.
I think that should be something on everyone's radar because Second Impressions not only is a great thrift shop, and they're oftentimes taking donations when other places are not taking donations.
Right.
But they do employ individuals from community options and give them gainful employment as well as like teaching them new skills. And then the money that's raised from the sales of the stuff in the store then goes to community options.
Right.
And where is
it's
it?
on Townsend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second Impressions is
Where did you
basically
say? What road?
Townsend.
So
Okay.
it's north. I believe it's North Second. It's like
between
it's
here
really
and
close
Pomona.
here. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
super close.
Yeah.
Okay.
On Townsend.
So highly recommend them, y'all.
All right. There we go.
Yeah. So that's
So that's a peek into the amazing race. Do you know what they had to do at Second Impressions?
at Second Impressions. They had to answer a trivia question. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it wasn't just a trivia question. It was, oh gosh, like what do you call that? Like in Lord of the Rings, where they ask you like, what
Like
is
a
this?
riddle.
Oh,
A
like the riddle, like
Thank you.
the bridge troll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was. I think the riddle was.
Rob, who was the most famous one? The guy that did the spinning the hay into gold. What was his name? The
Rumpelstiltskin.
Rumpelstiltskin. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a riddle at that place that one of
Okay.
the volunteers came up with. Shout out to Haley Hottie. And
This is great.
that was super fun. In terms of, we did have a trivia question this year, and I am going to say, let's do this one. In which year was ADA, which is the Americans with Disability Act, signed into law? Was it 1964, 1973, 1990, or 2001?
1973.
Unfortunately, I'm going to say 2001.
You're super close. It was 1990.
It's not that
Really?
long.
It's not that long ago that the Americans with Disability Act was signed into law. And I think that's really something insightful that we should all be thinking about.
Well,
Dennis was only 35 and that was signed into law.
yeah.
Can you believe that?
I mean, I was a young man. I don't know what to tell you.
It's an old guy.
So
trying to think
are
of what I
you
was doing in
speaking of,
1990.
let's go back to change in Montrose and let's wrap it up with change in Montrose.
Okay.
And how excited are you? Like there's a lot of curb and accessibility improvements being made around town. I know people get a little bit frustrated because it takes time to get those things done and it impedes traffic and everything else. But do you feel like there is some acknowledgement to making Montrose more accessible? Do you like that change? Do you think we could be doing better? How do you feel?
I think there's always things that we can improve upon, and it's a learning experience for all of us to practice and learn about these things. I am excited that we're doing these things. One of the things that I do want to just like say is Universal design is for everybody. So a ramp is something that we can all access.
Right.
So whether we utilize a wheelchair or maybe we have crutches, or maybe we're a mom or a dad pushing a stroller, a ramp helps everybody.
Right.
So I am a huge fan of universal design. When it comes to our truncated domes, which is, where it's almost like the ramp to get onto the sidewalk, but it has those dots.
Mm-hmm.
So the truncated dome, those dots are super important because when you're utilizing a cane, that is like what's telling you, like, this is about to go down and this is now you're entering the street.
Right.
So that's important. Truncated dome. What is a little bit frustrating to me is truncated domes are wickedly expensive to put in. And so a lot of the times, like, okay, for the viewers that are not watching the video, they're listening in. What I'm trying to demonstrate on my lap is I've got 2 books. They're representing streets. So typically when you have a street going this way and a street going this way, to the right or to the left, what people are doing with the truncated domes, because they're so expensive, is they're putting one right in the middle.
Right.
To access. The problem with that is if you're an individual who is blind or has a visual impairment, you have now entered the middle of the intersection. So now
because the truncated dome is too close to the actual intersection?
The truncated dome is, instead of aiming you to walk across
Right.
Main to Townsend, it is
Oh,
now,
okay.
it is now
It's taking you out into the intersection.
middle of the four-way
Okay,
stop.
got it.
And
That's kind of hard to describe
it's so
visually, audibly, for those of you who can't see.
Yeah.
But if you think about, like, the angle on a triangle, right, where the two streets meet, where the tip of the triangle is, or the point of the triangle is where the entrance is going out. So instead of going left or right, you're going out diagonally. You're jaywalking. You're going right out into the middle of the street.
Yeah.
But if you're
Wow,
blind and
never
have a
thought
visual
about that.
impairment, like, you don't know which way you're walking, because that is
Right.
the way that the truncated dome has now led you. And so if you think about a 4-way stop, if you would put truncated domes in the correct way, that's 8
Right.
versus 4. And I can understand why they're doing it. I think it's like $20,000 per truncated dome.
I don't quite understand why something like that would cost that much money.
I'm sure it's
I don't want to
like,
get into the politics of it, but that's a lot of money for something that is essential.
Well, it's great. We got a guy.
Yeah.
We know a guy,
I'll ask
a friend of the show.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily a friend of the show,
No.
but somebody that comes on the show
Yes.
with some regularity. So we'll ask Bill Bell. We'll ask.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got some insight to that.
and it's super hard to know all the codes.
Yeah.
It's super hard to know the codes. It's super hard to know, like, what everyone needs. But I do think that taking steps and having, like, the rec district now has an accessibility team that is internal, but then they also have an outside accessibility team that's made of like key people in the community, of those who might work with individuals with disabilities, as well as those who identify as having a disability,
Right.
making up that team to help guide and inform our decision making. And I think it's important that there's a saying that says there's nothing about us without us. And I think that is so important in this day and time, to have people with disabilities, like, being able to have that opportunity to step up and say, this is what I need, because it's really hard to ask for that sometimes.
It's everybody needs to participate and have a place where they can give their input into it. Absolutely. And we need to make room for everybody to have that. Now, I just want to make sure that we didn't cut you off with anything, because you have 2 other colorful things there and another book. Was there anything like this? Is your we're coming to
This is
the
my
end
moment.
here.
Okay. We're wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody is like, I am really confused about disability language, know that disability language changes all the time, and it's okay to have questions. One of the books that I highly recommend is Demystifying Disability, what to know, what to say, and how to be an ally. And the lady who wrote it, Miss Emily, has a disability herself and identifies within that category. There is a really great chart within the book that literally tells you what to say this and not this.
Right.
And it gives you background and insight as to why. And I really think that more of us should be reading this so we know what to say and feel more comfortable.
Right.
Because I think that's part of the worry for people, is they don't want to, you guys have talked about this in an episode of MATA, like, you don't want to say the wrong thing and be disrespectful, but I do think that it's important to have those conversations.
Well, as a result of that, sometimes you don't say anything.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's not.
And that's worse, I feel like.
Exactly. And then I wanted to highlight this. This is a button that can be purchased online on Amazon. This is from like Learning Resources. So it is really cheap and easy to buy. If you have an individual that comes into your business or your store that is nonverbal, you can actually record by pressing on the red button in the moment, and you can put some words on there. And then the individual could select. So you could say things like, yes. And it records it in real time, and you could have those available. Another thing that you could do to help make your business or place of work more accessible is just keeping a sign language chart for finger spelling quickly available. This one was free from the Colorado School of the Deaf and Blind in Colorado Springs. But being able to finger spell out if someone is in your business and asking them what they need, it might take a while to learn the finger spell, but having this or being able to write on a piece of paper is a good way, but it just depends on that person's ability to then read and write.
Yeah.
But having this is another accessible thing. And then I just wanted to highlight, at the rec center, there are times that I need to like help count for students and other individuals. And so this one says throw, and it has different tennis balls on there. So that way I can help them track how many they've done. Little visual aids are really important. And then last but not least is a punch balloon. I don't know if you've seen one of these in a hot minute.
No, it's been a bit.
It's been a bit, but I'm not going to blow it up on air right now. But essentially, like for basketball, we might have individuals that are not able to grip a basketball. They may not be able to dribble a basketball, but I can change and adapt that. And I can blow up a punch balloon. And if I attach it to their hand
And teach them the motion.
then
wow.
now they're dribbling.
Yeah.
So that's what adapted physical education is all about, is changing and adapting for every student that you have that comes through the door. And I think it's so cool when other people in our community help step up and do that too.
You guys reach out. You need to reach out to Dano if you've got any questions, if you had any thoughts, or if you feel like you have somebody in your life that, you know, could use more integration into physical activity and you just didn't think that there was an opportunity. I, you know, beg you to reach out to adaptive at montroserec.com.
Yes,
Is that right? And reach out to Dano, because if it hasn't come across on this video, she is extremely approachable. She is super kind and fun to talk to. You're fun to be around. Since you left us with some trivia, I've got a little bit of trivia for you.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to read a quote, and I want to see if you can tell me what it's from.
Oh, geez.
I'm actually going to just do the back end of the quote. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit more difficult for you.
Okay.
It is the only church that feeds your soul daily and day in and day out. Do you know where that's from?
I don't know. I was going to say the Church of Baseball in Bull Durham, but
That's exactly where it's from. Congratulations. You quoted it on your Facebook page, so I didn't know if you'd remember or not, but that's it happens to be one of my favorite movies. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but Bull Durham was one of my favorite movies. And so when I saw the quote, I was like, all right, I'm going to find out, because I feel like sometimes people put quotes up and they really don't live it, you know, or they don't. I don't know. I was hoping to catch it. Dang it, and I didn't get you.
No, I love that movie so much. I was just talking about it the other day.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there that don't know, Dennis he Facebook stalks everyone that comes on. So
I love that.
Yeah,
immediately
absolutely.
that trivia question was definitely going to be from your own Facebook page. So just be aware that if
you come
Look at
on.
Rob trying to ruin my.
Dennis, that's
You know what the deal is?
that's how
He
this
does
works.
nothing. He does nothing and comes
Hey.
on the show.
Well, if he's got
Exactly.
the interview skills to pay the bills.
Oh,
Wait. Wait a second.
On that note,
Oh, he's gonna cut the show off. He's gonna cut the show off.
What
You know
a
what?
perfect way to end.
Congratulations, Rob. You deserve it. So, Dano, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much
We were
for
great,
having me.
great to have you.
Yeah, it was really good.
Certainly have you back too as things come up, because I know that you're always doing interesting stuff. So come let everybody know on WKRP.
Keep us informed about what you're doing.
Well,
and we can tell people. You know.
Please mark your calendars for October 25th, 2025 for the amazing race for adaptive sports.
Okay.
And keep an eye on all the rec district calendar. We have a very specific section for adaptive sports and programming. And we have some really cool things coming up for 2025. And among them might be a little bit of a polar plunge.
Ooh, I'm down for that.
So I would love WKRP to be at our polar plunge to help narrate what is happening. For
I would love
I
to
was-
see Dennis do the polar
I'll do the polar plunge
Yeah.
for sure, and we'll come. So you want us to come? We would come and do that live. That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
And then we'll have Dennis sat there in a robe and he'll just run and jump in this pool.
Yeah. Where are you thinking like the river? Where's the plunge going
We're
to be?
thinking potentially like Tabawatch,
Oh,
Okay.
that's cold
Ooh.
in the,
But
that's
like
cold in the
like-
summer.
like
Yeah.
legit, like
Okay.
outside.
All right.
I've done Chipito before
I'm
in the
down.
winter.
I'm down.
Oof.
I'm totally
You would
down.
have had to really go back in time to find that on my Facebook.
Well, again, like I said, as accomplished as you are, it took me a long time just to get to the small amount of stuff that I do have. I want to make sure that there isn't anything else that I missed, but I guess we covered a lot. I think that's it. I'm going to leave room for you to come back
Yeah.
because we'd love to have you back.
I would love to come back.
All right,
This has
well-
been fun.
Bring your pillow next time.
Yeah.
I'll bring my pillow next time
So
and
you-
a footstool.
In a footstool. All right.
But I know that y'all used to challenge people to
Oh, that's right.
invite someone to the
Okay.
show.
Oh,
and
look at
so
you.
There's
You're a
always-
real listener
I-
of the show.
I
know.
am a real listener
Okay,
of the
I love
show.
it.
Yeah, because I do think, like I said, I love Montrose. I
Uh-huh.
want
Yeah.
to know everybody.
So who you calling out?
I'm going to call out my husband.
Ooh. Now, wait a second. He's already been on a podcast.
He was just recently on Montrose County Talks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So he can hold his own, but I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about like invasive plant management, noxious plant management, and I think that it would be really fun to have him on the show.
Okay. All right. I'll have I'll give you the link, or you've already got the link, so you got to give him the link,
I will.
and then let's get him on the show. Now you're going to make me do some homework because I'm going to have to figure out because Rob's not going to know anything about obnoxious.
Oh, and he does not have like any social media. So
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah. Oh man, I might have to tap. I might have to.
It's on.
I might
now.
have to tap you to give me something, or tap a friend. Like give me one of his friends that can. Anyway. The only thing Rob would know about obnoxious weeds is the first part, being obnoxious.
Noxious. Noxious, you imbecile, not obnoxious.
Oh, no, it's not obnoxious? Oh, they feel obnoxious, kind of like you do. All right, everybody, that was WKRP Montrose. We will see you again soon. Dano, thanks for joining us. You're the best.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.